Serious, Redditors who believe they have thrown their lives away, where did it all go wrong for you? I got really depressed when I was in my early 20s, so I fucked everything up and isolated myself for a few years. Despite a good degree that kind of killed it for me. Car crash. Age 14. Was in a coma for 7 or 8 days. Made a lot of brain-damaged decisions after. I got lazy with education from a very young age, and in the end my brain just lacked the ability to apply to anything that required real effort. Then I stopped caring, just got a decent enough job, and that was it. This is life now. Started working at a restaurant at 14, surrounded by drugs and alcohol, thought it was completely normal behavior for adults and chefs I looked up to until you was 37 and realized I have a huge alcohol problem and lost everything I owned. I'm 17 months sober now. So I'm a third-year medical student, and going to medical school is my biggest regret. I should have chosen the career path I initially wanted, but I let people tell me where to go. Problem is I'm gonna be in too much debt to do anything else. College. I was always one of the best students in high school. I got to college and I didn't know what study meant. I just thought you skim though the book. It had always worked for me before. I had to get kicked out, then do a real job. Eventually I went back and got my degree, but I left a lot on the table. I had prepared myself. I focused too much on the long term. I needed to graduate college, so I neglected any potential relationships. Then I needed to get career stability, so I neglected any potential relationships. Then I needed to get financial stability, so I neglected any potential relationships. Then I woke up at 40 in the middle of a pandemic all alone and realized I have nothing that is worthwhile. My mother often talks about her personal regret for not going to college. She also says if she could, she would go back, go to college and get a career that involves weather. Meteorologist is what I think she was going for. It makes me sad knowing she doesn't have the motive to do it now. Our family relationship hasn't always been the best, but I always want the best for her. She works so hard for my brother and I hope one day I can show her the world less than 3. I've had a great life. There is one thing in my life though that has put a damper on it, and that was drinking alcohol. I wish I had never let it pass my lips. I never got a DUI, I should have, never in trouble with the law, but I wasted 30 years being inebriated most evenings. I wasn't crisp. I wasn't completely present. So there was a dimmer on my life that turned my general awareness down by at least 20 to 30%. It's my greatest regret. Edit. Hey. There was someone trying to PM me and I accidentally deleted your question, sorry. I only got to read the first sentence and it seemed really important. PM me again if you see this. I met a girl at work just as my life was starting to take off. I was 23. We started dating and I fell in love instantly. After dating for 3 months she was getting evicted, so I offered her to move in with me. 3 months later we were married. This then starts a journey of me trying to do all I could to make her happy while she could never hold down a job. In the last 2 years she didn't work at all. We lost our cars, I had to demote, she had to get an abortion, I fell behind on my credit cards and she cheated on me. For her all of our problems were because of me and she was the victim. She then left me the day after our 4-year anniversary and was with a new guy a month later. I am now in the process of filing for bankruptcy, have no house, no friends because I put all my focus into her, no car, a shitty job, and living in my sister's spare bedroom. I'm 28 and I have nothing to speak of. Just painful memories of bad choices and depression. When I started drinking, the drinking wasn't really that much of a problem, but it was enough for me to be too hungover to keep up my monthly appointments to get my ADHD meds. I fell behind on meds, became embarrassed to reschedule appointments, missed the deadline to renew my health insurance. Then I couldn't handle school anymore, publicly bombed a few presentations, and stopped going. I only had 1 semester left, but it was a small school and all of the professors know that I just completely gave up. Now I'm too scared to go back and have none of the degree and all of the debt. Internet. I moved after a kind of trauma in my life, and it was my only connection to my former friends and therefore the only normal thing in my life. I began to see that, I think, as a connection to the real world, and spent all my time on the computer. All my time. I never joined any clubs, never really strived to make friends outside of the ones I talked to online. Hobbies were limited to the computer and what I could accomplish while distracted. Don't get me wrong, I think the internet is an amazing tool and can be used as such. I do also think it's dangerous and addictive. To this day I have trouble focusing, trouble realizing how much time I've spent on the computer, and I get caught in loops where I use the computer to relax and get away, but get depressed and pessimistic because the news and comment sections are usually quite toxic. If I could go back, I would do things differently. I think my life would be richer. Probably when I decided to be a good Samaritan and let a girl I didn't really know move in with me because she claimed her mom was abusive. Her mom wasn't abusive, she just wanted her deadbeat daughter to get her GED. I ended up spending a small fortune inadvertently enabling this girl's lazy behavior and developing a habit of trying to help everyone with a sob story I came across. My life went off the rails cause I kept trying to do the right thing but wasn't taking care of myself. If I had just kept to myself and focused on getting into an apprenticeship I turned down so I could focus on these charity cases, my life would be completely different. Like with many people, I think it went wrong around 18 to 25. Was more or less pushed by various environmental factors into a direction, without really thinking about who I was or who I wanted to be. I just followed societal/parental expectations and sure enough ended up in a career I care little about, and feel like a zombie on a daily basis, like dying. What sucks is that before 18, I never had a bad time. I cared for school, I always tried to do my best. But after 18 everything went too quick. I had to pick a career, etc. Now at 30 plus, I feel nothing for my life and career, but I'm also in the paradox that I don't want to start all over again to go for a career that really interests me, because going through college/university all over again just feels too much of a battle, going from working professional with money to unemployed year 1 student. I just feel that just a small window of a couple years, 18 to 25, decided my entire life for me and ruined it forever. My only advice for people is to gain some maturity, ask themselves what they truly want to be, and only then embark on studies. You need intention in life. Parental expectations or being a good boy trying to do his best isn't enough. I think my chance to shine was blown in my 20s. I spent most of it fat, I took my living conditions for granted, I was a bit of a little bitch when working actual jobs, explains why they ended so short, and I didn't really have a good handle on interacting so well. It was haywire. Now I'm just stuck spinning in place due to that. Alcohol went wrong for me. I'm a 28-year-old female who has lost everything due to my alcoholism. I recently lost my job and house. I keep fighting though, and I'm 13 days sober. I hope to get my life back, but unfortunately it will take a while. My parents were addicts. They got divorced and my mom fucked up a lot, so we often didn't have a lot of food. I got tired of being hungry and started shoplifting food at the grocery. I didn't get caught by the staff, but some other criminals noticed me. I ended up forming a sort of crime ring with them. At that time they stored cigars on an aisle in the store. We started stealing them as well as gum and candy and selling them at school. We also started smoking them. That was how I started down the wrong path. I progressively hung out with worse people and did worse things. I dropped out of high school and spiraled out of control. It's more than 20 years later now. Most of my friends are dead in prison or IDK where I have nothing. I did get clean a few years back and I haven't committed a crime in a long time, but I have no idea how to move forward in life. I have no skills, no recent work experience, and no references. I fucked my life up pretty good. I had my own landscape company, I employed 5 others, but I had an addiction problem with cocaine. At the time I didn't know I had severe mental health problems. I have BPD, DPD and bipolar disorder 1 with psychosis. I woke up one day and couldn't do it anymore. I left the company to the lads I worked with. Since then I haven't worked in years. I've lost count how many times I've been hospitalized. I tried to end my life but ended up in a coma. I'm doing better now despite going through a divorce. I'm on antipsychotic meds and I'm doing good now but could never go back to work. When the narcolepsy started at 19, I stopped studying after high school. I lost my thinking ability. I can't focus. I never believed in myself. When I started doing drugs 8 years ago, to this day I'm still stuck. Every day I wake up and tell myself, well, today you stop, but as soon as the night approaches, everything collapses. I'm 24 now and feel like I've wasted some of my best years doing drugs. 24 years old and I have nothing to my name other than a lot of debt. Hoping in and out of jobs for years. If it wouldn't be for my twin brother, I wouldn't even have a place to sleep. I lie a lot, and turned into what I despised. I just hope I will someday be able to fix all this and make my brother proud again. Gaming addiction, lost many of my friends and became very depressed. I wouldn't say thrown away, but deciding to take a gap year to build up funds and rebuild mental health after finishing my masters wasn't the best decision to make. In October 2019, smiley face, definitely feel behind the 8 ball in getting back on my feet. I almost threw mine away. My parents raised me to eventually one day kill myself. As a child, you depend on your parents to teach you about life and the world. You have no reason to doubt them as you literally have almost nothing to compare their truth to. Well, mine told me every day I was ugly, fat, and unlovable. I believed them too, because I literally didn't know any better. So in school I didn't care or didn't try. Never did any clubs or anything. There was no point because as far as I knew, I was literally worthless. I was 7 when I wrote in my school journal that I was gonna kill myself. I'll never forget that. Fast forward to 14, I tried and failed. Fast forward to 22 and I tried and failed again. This time ended up in the hospital. Spent 2 weeks there and in a crisis center. It took me until 27 to get my life together. My mom had fucked up my credit when I was younger and stolen a lot of my money as well. I'm 31 now and finally have a savings. It's just fucking ridiculous how much my growth was stunted because of them. Where I am now I should have been when I was 20. So much of my life was stolen from me and I should be dead, but I am thankful every day I saw past them and their hatred to find worth in myself. Doubted myself and did not choose the career path I wanted. I chose partying over college. Didn't have the money or time for both. I ended up with a civil service job and went back to school, but I was still partying. I finally stopped partying and also realized that there are very few people who actually get paid for doing something they like or that is fulfilling. I kept my boring civil service job, but I started doing more fun stuff as hobbies. I got very active in community theater and met some amazing people and am still having lots of fun. I also endeavor to learn something new every day. So even though I feel like I wasted lots of years, I am making up for it now. It's never too late. This question is so depressing. I wish I can give a hug to all of you guys, but the fact you're writing this means you're still alive, and being alive is a starter in its own way. Fear take 80% of our thoughts, and it's not society and situations what make us stop sometimes. It is our non-existent fear that's in our head. Don't give up, and try to collect as many wishes and needs as you can in your life. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I cheated on my wife. Emotionally destroyed the best friend I'd ever had, and destroyed my little family, 1 daughter. 27 years of a damn good life/marriage down the drain. Now we're 5 years divorced. I live alone. I'll likely be alone for the rest of my days. I'm 62. I can't forgive myself, though she has, and we're good friends, and I'm utterly miserable. I married at 18 because it was expected of me. Wasted 36 years with an extremely abusive spouse, primarily out of fear. I'm free now. He died 8 years ago. I'm trying to make up for lost time, but that's a lot of wasted time to make up for. I just dropped out of school for the final time this past week. I just couldn't keep up while working the amount that I do, and I unfortunately can't really cut back on my hours, so I'm just kinda stuck at this point. Now I'm just hoping I'll be able to get a job in software development sometime in the next year or two, but honestly, kinda doubtful that will work out either. I had a kid when I was 19. At first I was capable of studying and work in the same time, then I just gave up. I was quite talented in high school, had no problems in college, hang out with a bunch of friends and really enjoyed life. Then I dropped college to work full-time, started to get isolated, lost friends, opportunities, years. It didn't help that my relationship was like any teenager one with all the economic pressures of an adult life. That was hell. Now I'm 27, I could get back to college, and I'm failing big time. I can't concentrate, feels like a mental fog. Also the age difference triggers my social anxiety. I had a friend who was deep into physics. We used to joke that when he would won the physics Nobel Prize I would won the literature one. He went to another city to study. I stayed and had a son when I was 19. Edit. I love my son, and I try to give him the best of me. Me and her mother are not a couple anymore, but we have the agreement of never fight, argue or even raising out voices in front of the kid. I grew up without a father, and she has a very complicated family, so it's really important for us that he gets to be the best version of himself, without fears, traumas or negligence from our part. It all went wrong in my infancy really. Had cancer as a baby, the cancer itself and the treatment crippled and disfigured me. Spent my entire childhood ostracized by everyone my age, the only interaction I had with other kids was occasional bullying and nothing else. Pretty much left me socially crippled. Flopped at high school because I never went, was absent like 60% of the time. The school didn't report me to a truancy officer or anything, they just marked my absences down as being because of my disability and excused them. I still graduated because I did all my work, albeit poorly, and went to college, where I got good grades. But since I had spent my entire life up to that point in a depressed haze, I had no idea what I even wanted to do with my life and got a useless degree. I was going to go to law school because I couldn't think of anything else to do with my useless degree, but since I was still an antisocial recluse, I couldn't get any letters of recommendation from anyone and had no extracurricular activities, thus no chance of getting into any good law schools. So I didn't bother with that. Wasn't really anything I could have changed along the way to make my life any better, though, so it's not like I have any regrets. Just hope reincarnation is real and things go better the next time around at this point. You don't throw your life away with one or two choices. It's apathy over years. My husband wanted to be a pilot, we looked into it, pushed it off to take advantage of other education benefits, had a baby, had another baby, now he's mid-30s and our son just told him he wants to be a pilot. That was a hard conversation to watch. I was accepted to multiple Ivy League schools for graduate school. Everything was paid for, but I decided to go to a local state school because my grandma had just died and I missed my family. I now realize the space from my family was actually really good for us, and I hate this school. I had worked my whole life to get into these programs and changed my mind at the last minute. I ended up having a nervous breakdown when I realized my mistake, and now I am barely functioning in my program. I don't exactly feel like I threw away my life, but getting involved with fundamentalist religion was definitely a mistake. I never had a chance. I was told one day it'll make sense and it never did. I never made anything happen cause I always felt confused, like I didn't have enough information. And nothing ever did happen. Just wanted to say I have read every single comment here and wanna give every single person a hug. Joining the military. Lost all my previous connections back home, my fiancé left me, ended up in a shit unit that decided I was going to be their personal punching bag for the next 6 years, and my MOS was so new at the time that there was no documentation on my skill level, or comparable civilian certifications because we switched hands so often. And when it came time to get out, I moved back home without a job lined up, in the midst of a recession, to one of the hardest hit states, to a very violent and toxic household with no way out. To top it all off, I couldn't and still haven't been able to find a job that pays me enough to not tread water gasping for air. Now I'm too broken to get into shape, too rusty to do contracting work without retraining, that I cannot afford, or even find for that matter. And all because at 18, I really thought I loved my country and wanted to defend it. How naive. I have come to accept the fact that I will probably never rise higher than where I am today, and that I will likely be homeless, dead, or both within a decade. I was neglecting my neurotic personality and been using alcohol to mute my social anxiety, which I thought is just shyness. After first panic attack in September 2012, everything went in opposite direction. Lost years of my youth worrying, stressing, avoiding people and chances that I had only because of depression and anxiety. I never fully recovered to who I was before, and the fact I've lost almost a decade on just worrying is giving me pain. I am being very serious. It's a short story, a very tiny, mini story, but it's real. I got married. It sounds harsh, but I married my wife. I love her to pieces, as well as the kids she's given me, but we married young and her health has only deteriorated since. She can barely leave the house, and I have to be around 24/7 to look after her. I often feel like a single dad, gave up university prospects, can't hold down a job, haven't been able to hang out with friends for years, had to give up on my band because I couldn't go touring, and now I just coast through life without aspiration or ambition, watching my hair grow thinner, my kids get older, and my life fade away. Tried to work in a specific field, got 2 degrees in it, eventually got a job in it, made a tiny lapse in concentration, searched my own name into one of their systems, sacked, no other experiences, my eggs were fully in that basket, unemployable, life over despite a decade of hard work. I have tried so F== king hard, yet one mistake and now I'm unemployable for life and depressed every day. I was thinking earlier about how many good Samaritan things I've done in life. I wish I hadn't have bothered. I am now over 400 pounds. When I finished high school I weighed about 220, I am 5 feet 11 inches. I dropped my weight down to 195 and got a girlfriend, at the end of 2015. I then moved into an apartment and got lonely and friend to eat my troubles away. By the time I got to college in late SP17, I was 350. Now I'm over 400. Heart problems run in my family. I don't know how long I realistically have, and it is so hard to get motivated. Oh boy, when I was 2 my mama let me get arped by her drug dealer so she could get some for free. Then my dad was abusive and I started smoking weed and cigarettes. I mean, I'm still young, but it's so hard to get out of this hole. My parents homeschooled me for all of high school, and didn't do a good job at it. So when it was time to go to college, I just took a few classes, passed them, hated others, so dropped them. Stopped for a while to work and have been working a series of crap restaurant jobs ever since. Finally started taking criminal justice courses 1 or 2 at a time and enjoyed those, so I'm a few classes from IAS now. Went to the police academy, but haven't been able to get a job in law enforcement since graduating, and I'm back to working crap restaurant jobs and living with my parents. I'm 32. I was a star student in high school and took the idea that I could do anything too seriously. I ended up choosing a completely useless liberal arts major, graduated valedictorian of my college class, and then compounded my uselessness by choosing to enter graduate school. Now I don't have the money to go back to school and do another BA, but my current qualifications, despite merit scholarships, perfect grades, and testimonials, are less useful than toilet paper. I now face years of plugging away at minimum wage doing more useless research. I got pregnant with a man I had just met when I was in my early 20s. Rather than raising my son myself, I married him to try to right things despite knowing that he had anger issues and a drinking problem. Almost 20 years later, still stuck in the marriage. What a waste of time. Wasn't even a good father. Serious, when I was a child, I had a fall that left me with mild brain damage. I am smart enough to know I am not normal, but dumb enough that I'm looked on as special. I have balance problems, hearing and sight problems, memory failure, interaction difficulties and mild learning difficulties, all caused by that single fall. I hate that I could have been normal, except that my mother decided to wait 3 fucking days to take me to hospital. I say this on record now. If I got the chance, I'd kill her slowly for the pain I suffered at her hands. I have suffered for a lifetime because that alcoholic woman needed time to sober up before taking me back to hospital again, because of a fall. Funny thing. This time it was actually a fall. Where did it go wrong? If I blame myself, it was that fall. If I can blame someone else? My mother didn't get the abortion she kept telling me she wanted to get. Yes, my mother said to me as a child, "I wish I'd aborted you." It all started back in elementary school. I was one of those gifted kids and could just skate through classes easily and never really tried, and then classes actually started getting hard and started requiring effort that I never put in. I never failed anything, but boy am I in a terrible spot with no way out. High school. Got seriously bullied at the end of primary. College. Mainly, trusting my parents to help me. I allowed/trusted my mother to set up my loans for me since I was young and clueless, so she ended up putting me with a trash provider. Now I'll be stuck in student debt until I die for a fucking Bachelor of Arts. I regret college every waking day. I haven't been good at making big decisions, and because of this, I listen to other people's advice too readily. I played it too safe, and ended up really miserable. For example, I wanted to go to medical school. My parents said I had to apply to the local school and stay at home. I applied twice. I didn't get in both times because of the quota system here, or possibly because a scandal recently broke where people were paying bribes to get their kids into med school here. What if I had taken a chance and tried elsewhere? What if I had listened to myself instead of just nodding and saying yes? I might have also been rejected. I might also have gotten in and become a doctor. I will never know. Honestly, I used to get beat for bringing B's home. "Mom, what's the beef for?" Bullshit. And ignored if I brought straight A's home. I was the sweet, innocent, youngest child in a family of 6 siblings who were always causing my single mother grief. She didn't have any positivity to bestow upon me when she had to deal with my sisters, disrespect, drug use, underage sex, joining gangs, etc. in high school. It was just easier to give up and at least turn the negative attention than it was to try anymore. I'm a teacher. I worked like a dog to put myself through college and graduate school only to go into a profession where I am treated like crap by the parents, the administration and the students. I regret it every day. I tell every student teacher to turn and run. When I get to heaven I will ask God what I ever did to deserve it. My fiancée died about 12 years ago. I didn't really have a friend network or anyone to lean on because I just moved out of state, so I just worked a lot. I turned inward and shut down. I haven't had a close friend or girlfriend since then. I stopped drawing, painting, writing, photography. All the things I love doing. I just gave up. I didn't realize how much I'd lost until I met someone who drew me out of my shell. I fell hard for her, but had nothing to offer. I let my body go, haven't bought clothes except for work, haven't developed my mind or social skills, and have no circle of friends. So here I am, working out, trying to learn how to socialize. Again, the pandemic isn't helping, reteaching myself how to draw and paint, reading news and books. My hope is that if I meet someone again, 1, I'll be more open to the opportunity, and 2, I'll be a more complete person who will have something worthwhile to offer. The journey has just begun, but I'm hopeful. I feel pretty good about the progress so far. But I can't help but wonder what I've missed by shutting down for so long. Where would I be now? What could I have accomplished? 100% my own damn fault. I might be a bit old now, but I'm finally trying to take control and build up my life again. I suffer from major depression, so fears that I threw my life away, or that I'm just intrinsically a loser are common thought storms for me. When I get triggered, this feeling becomes overwhelming and there's little to do but find my way to a bed or someplace comfortable and sob or sleep until it runs its course. Part of my regimen of combating this is to commit an honest, fact-based assessment of myself and my life, and a few years ago, I took a sober reassessment of where I was. I noted David Foster Wallace's This Is Water speech, in which he notes we can always assess ourselves negatively. If we're rich, we could be richer. If we're smart, we could have been smarter. In fact, one quote I cling to is attributed to Alexander of Macedon when his associates were assessing the breadth of their conquests, and Anaxarchus surmised that there was an infinity of stars and worlds in the sky. Alexander wept, and they asked him why. Is it not worthy of tears? Alexander replied, that, when the number of worlds is infinite, we have not yet become lords of a single one. Even Alexander the Great was unimpressed with his own exploits, and yes, while we live in a society that celebrates those who bootstrap themselves to fame and fortune, with this effort comes a madness that we'll never be satisfied with any heights we attain. That is to say, for those who we see everything went right, they commonly don't see it, and forever believe they're not there yet. That said, our lives are commonly driven more by circumstances than by ambitions. Some people achieve long-term goals and achieve them, but by far, most do not. Instead we make do with where the last maelstrom has landed us, and hope that it provides more opportunity than the last time we were flung away. On one hand, remember your life is never over until it's over, and also that every human being out there has a story, and no one is fully responsible for their misfortune any more than anyone is fully responsible for their lofty achievements. We all stand on the shoulders of giants, or are crushed under their feet. Usually a combination of both. When I moved to Nashville, stuck working at Lowe's for probably forever or until I kilometers, thinking that a corporation would value 13 years of loyalty. Losing job after job due to undiagnosed ADHD and Asperger's syndrome. I discovered alcohol at age 13, speed and heroin by 15, and basically lost 2 decades to them. I'm now pushing 50, clean and happy, albeit falling apart physically, but even though I was high functioning and held down decent paying jobs in IT, it put paid to any idea of a real career and killed all my idealistic dreams. Having a stroke while giving birth to my daughter. It has taken me so long to get my body back and I will never be the same. I struggle with severe migraines that make me unable to speak and I lose my vision and hearing. I struggle to walk. Even now 8 years later. It all went wrong when I YOLO'd $50K into $at $340. I've never really had a dream. I'm almost 27 and I still have no idea what I want to be when I grow up. I only have high school education. Most people don't even want to date someone without at least some kind of degree, and jobs are really hard to find. Go to school even if it's difficult for you, it affects absolutely everything. The first fuck up was not to finish college. Next fuck up was to have kids at an early-ish age, where most of people my age would have gone out to party and still go to college. Now I'm stuck. Can't get a job in my field of experience because of COVID, getting too old to be hired as I would be too expensive. Can't go to school because I can't send my kids to daycare, too expensive, and can't pay for college. Great Recession 0F 2008, Dad loses his job and gets sick. I left HS without graduating, start working low-paid jobs to help the family hoping to save money for my studies too. Got my HS diploma at 27 but I realize I'm too broke for uni so I go back work in shitty jobs again. Now I have a decent amount of savings but I have to choose between uni or buying a decent apartment for us, since our landlord is a pretty shitty person and this rent thing has become unbearable. Squandered education opportunities, turned down op to go to Dallas Arts/Magnets Academy like Nora Jones and Erykah Badu did. Unbridled drug and alcohol consumption, lack of self-growth and self-appreciation. You have to be your own best cheerleader. If it helps, any life can be turned around and you can make it with what you have. It's not over until it's over. Had a kid at 17, didn't finish high school or go to college. Kinda wasted time with drug/alcohol/xming addiction. Now I'm 30 years old and working 2 part-time jobs. I feel happy enough actually because I'm too ADHD for a real career and would rather not be bogged down. But don't do what I did if you want to have larger successes in life. Early 20s, wanted to join the armed forces or serve as a federal police officer, got casual and didn't fully commit to the cause, mental health issues too, can still join the army but not as a full career, staring at 2 entirely different career paths now, certain aspirations intact, so not everything lost. Also, fuck this pandemic and COVID. On the 1st of February 2019 when I had my diabetic ketoacidosis and my diabetes and blood clot. Alcohol. When I was born. Was never smart, health problems, my love life is non-existent, the only job I can get is a stock boy at a grocery store, and failed college 3 times. I'm 27. Currently in college. Had mental health issues starting in middle school. Terrible grades through high school, but graduated. College, shitty GPA. I don't know how to study. Want to pursue music but my dad wants me to go into marketing which I hate. I'm trying to get my way into the music industry but I have no connections and depression makes everything so much work. The internet makes doing homework next to impossible with all the distractions. I have no friends. I'm so depressed and just want to be happy and start living life. I wish I had better grades in high school so I could have gone to my first choice college. In September of 2019, a few days after my birthday, I was diagnosed with cancer. Hospitalized for a month, and then needed to visit hospital every other day for blood and or platelets transfusions, and would be admitted in hospital for 2 weeks every month for chemotherapy for next 7 months. So like first week I'm in hospital for chemo cycle, second week I'm in every other day for blood and platelet transfusions, third week I'm in again for chemo cycle, 4th week I'm in every other day and repeat. This at the time created a thought process in my mind that I'm suffering from all this crap so I'm entitled to play lots of games to relax and such. And I wasted my entire academic year of 2020. Now I have my 10th grade final exams in 2 months and still can't bring myself to study. Now I feel like a fucking idiot, I should have controlled it. When I took that first sip of alcohol, it made me feel comfortable for the first time in my life, so I kept drinking more and more. I'd go to work drunk off my ass, got sacked of course. Lost my first and only girlfriend. My friends rightly got fed up with me and removed me from their lives. I'm now just a bitter angry shell of a human with nothing but regrets. Making about 60k a year. Spend about 600 a month in weed. I'm afraid of being with my sober thoughts outside of work. Hard to say. In my teens or early 20s, I was excited and eager to learn coding. I was always experimenting with stuff. I'm 32 now and working at Walmart. I guess my depression and the loss of friends contributed but I just don't know. Even if you think that you have thrown your life away making foolish mistakes, none of that matters. So long as you still have your life you can change your life and make it into whatever you want. The key to success is never giving up. Doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down so long as you keep getting back up and learning from your mistakes. I got into a relationship with a girl that was abusive. I moved away and she got into contact with me saying she were pregnant. I moved back to my hometown losing my job and making myself homeless and was living in a hostel. Broke up with the most amazing girl and cut ties with my friends because they told me it weren't my kid. She asked me to get a place for me and her to move into. I put a deposit down for a 2-bedroom house and live in an abusive home for another 5 months before the child was born. I then found out that the kid wasn't mine. Social services took the kid off her and I couldn't do anything to stop it. I haven't recovered yet and I'm still living with my mate on his sofa as I can't get a place because my depression is so bad I'm deemed unfit to work. All my friends and my ex-girlfriend was right but won't forgive me for being so stupid. Maybe thrown it away is the wrong term, but I was doomed before I was even born. Autistic, deaf and American. I will never have a job. Even if my hearing aid worked well enough for me to follow conversations or make phone calls, I'm still so bad at interacting with other people that I could never succeed in an interview. Too painful for me to read, find myself a little bit in every comment. If anyone reads this, I want you all to know it is never too late to work on yourself and make yourself better. Life is all a progression, and in order to become something, you must come from what you are not. We lose this as we grow old and we forget to be happy, and we work instead, on our jobs, toxic relationships, on our drug habits, but the common denominator in most situations, is all they are is a situation that you can work yourself out of. Our brains are one of the most interesting and amazing things to have ever blessed this plane of existence. Simple things like being still, meditation, working out, or other things of the like will actively help with day-to-day pains, mental illness, waking up groggy every day, etc. My point is, there is always a way to get better and work on yourself, just never give up, and never forget you are capable of amazing things, at any age. I've spent every day since I was 10 taking care of others and never put myself first. It's caused me to drop out of college, take really terrible jobs and be treated horribly, so I never got ahead. I wouldn't say I threw it away, but I could have done a lot better for myself and my husband if I had actually put myself first. Long story short, I grew up in a normal middle-class family in Illinois, was on the football team in high school and all that good stuff. I found out I was an undocumented immigrant when I was denied a license at the DMV sophomore year. 3 years later, I was deported. Everything that I had ever known and experienced pretty much thrown out the window literally from one day to another. Now I live working twice as hard, making half as much in a country I knew very little about prior to my arrival. It's very difficult to think my quality of life will ever return to what it was before. C'est la vie. 7th grade young authors competition. I was selected for an original story I wrote for class. Got second place, but the winner fully plagiarized their shit, and I literally owned the book, which was how I knew it was, but none of the authorities seemed to give a shit, other than that I shut up and not be a sore loser. From that day on, society can fuck itself. No matter what you do in life, mistakes you make, no matter how many times, whatever decisions you make, makes your destiny. When they say, destiny lies in your hands, it's true. No matter who you blame, the biggest culprit is yourself if you make a wrong decision at a critical point in your life. My advice is stay away from gambling, drugs. These are the most common symptoms any hard worker has to avoid, otherwise you're on a road to ruin like my life. I'm 53 and broke just a basic job to making ends meet. Always wanted my own business, properties like any young ambitious person, but too many mistakes in decisions that I made in life failed me. Don't make the same mistakes as I. Think hard on decisions, sleep over them, because the next day can be different. I don't wanna go into details with my life, but some of the realest advice I ever got, from a cousin way older than me, was the longer it takes for you to focus and get your shit together, the harder it's gonna be. He told me that when I was 18, high school dropout. Now I'm 30 years old and am still having trouble applying the things I've learned in life. But that quote right there is the truth. Unironically, when I was born, my parents fucked me over more than I could have ever fucked up on my own. College. Huge waste of my time and money. But my parents made me go. Turned to drugs and hung out with bad people. Got pregnant at 20. Now at 28 my life is below average. So fucking miserable. I was glassed in the face 3 years ago and now I'm struggling with that. Stuck at home with another baby. I love my children, but I hate my life. I don't have my license because my parents never cared to help me when I was a kid. Now I'm just a fucking loser struggling to get my shit together at almost 30. Kill me. I wouldn't say I threw it all away per se. But I was a monk for 8 years. I had amazing experiences, lived an incredible lifestyle, got to do so many fascinating jobs. If you plan to be a monk for life, you are really set. You are financially taken care of for life. However, if you leave, you are really behind in life. After 8 years in, I discerned it was right to step away. I left with literally no money, no investments, no retirement, a scattered resume that makes me look like I'm not stable in any job, no one to help me, my family is emotionally supportive but not in a position to support me, and have really been struggling through trying to catch up. I'm 33 and in the same place as 23-year-olds just finishing college or grad school. I also am behind in social things. I have no stable base of friends, they are scattered throughout the US due to my never putting any roots down because of jumping cities frequently and living in religious communities, which made making friends really hard. I also haven't dated in almost a decade, so I'm behind in the world of dating and relationships as well. It's been rough, but I'm very slowly unburying myself and starting to feel like things are coming together. On one hand, I don't regret a minute of it, on the other hand I work daily to not harbor resentment for the monks holding me back in so many ways, then only minimally helping me upon my exit. I wouldn't suggest joining religious life unless you are really serious about it, and already have a financial fallback plan in place before heading in. I've made many strings of bad decisions which have led me to where I am. I hung out with the wrong crowd which normalized and reinforced my early bad decisions. I do not blame the people I was hanging out with though, I made my own decisions. For instance, most of my close high school friends dropped out of college at winter break sophomore year. I went back to school, and had I not withdrawn passing at spring break, I'd have failed out that year. I was all about smoking pot and drinking booze, and left a music theory/composition major to play in a band that never got out of the garage. That led to me doing landscaping and security guard work. I ended up going to a 6-month How to Be a Computer Guy class in the early 90s. I landed a good job with a good company, but failed the drug test, weed. Scrambling again, I landed a temp job at a huge company. I went permanent, but didn't bother getting in the 401k because I was sure this was just a summer job until I found something real. 10 years later, I got in the 401k. 15 years after that, I'm still working a job I hate at a company I despise, and I am praying I can stay on another 8 years so I can retire at 55 with 33 years in, but they're trying to outsource us as quickly as possible. I did pick up a 2-year degree along the way, but any IT department seems to want a 4-year degree for a starting position. If I lose this job I've had for 25 years, I think it's going to be very hard to find employment as a 47-year-old guy with an associate's in liberal studies. My love life has been worse than my career. I feel like I'm terminally single, but I'm no incel. I know the problem is me. I'm a vocal? Who knows? I am what I am, as Popeye would say, and I do occasionally wonder what would have happened if I'd stayed in college. Would I have gotten a degree in music and become a teacher, switched to material science and become a scientist, found the girl of my dreams and settled down? Had kids? Who can say? Maybe. This is my best life, but I often feel like I had the potential to be much more than I am. I installed World of Warcraft. Threw about 5 years of my early 20s away. Haven't thrown my life away yet, but I'm a freshman in college and it currently feels like life is a bunch of sand that I'm holding in my fist and the grip is getting looser and looser. Warning, I am going to vent here because currently don't have a therapist or anything, so if you don't want to read a stranger wallowing in their self-perpetuating misery, then turn away, friend, but if you're up for some good old-fashioned schadenfreude, then welcome. Always had anxiety issues, don't know why. Had rejection issues too, constantly felt like I had to be perfect, again don't know why. I was having a great time in high school. It was the first 6 months, then randomly one day I see red out of nowhere and try to smash my skull open on a pub wall in front of my dad and all my friends. To this day don't know what caused it. I also randomly started crying in class, which is weird because I'm a fairly stoic person and was actually having fun in high school. My dad asked if he should homeschool. I said yes. I thought my friends would be still interested in seeing me. Only one did, but we lost touch because I fell in love with her, or at least I thought so. I remember I had this really cute red-haired French teacher, such a sweet dude. Anyway, I was homeschooled and I could optionally take my exams, but because I wasn't getting a structured curriculum in the same way as others, because I thought I could just read history books all the time instead, that by the time I had to do my exams I'd realized I had no other skills, no math or anything, not even basic. So because of perfectionist, anxiety, OCD, panic attacks, depression, I still live with my parents. I've never had a job, never had a proper BF or GF, no friends outside of family and pets, no qualifications, and I was about to find a drama school and try some classes, but then a certain worldwide event came about and decided to wreck everything. So yeah, at least I'm clean living, have a roof, parents, awesome pets, and all healthy and happy, and I hope we all remain so and have better lives after this pandemic is over. Choosing work over spending time with the love of my life, eventually effectively ending the relationship. I was working 7 days a week most weeks, and we barely spent any time together for a year before it went completely south. Will honestly probably be single for the rest of my life at this point. Since then I've learned to chill out on work and at least spend more time, even if it's just alone. Most of the past 5 or so years of being single has been spent getting fucked up to forget about how much this realization hurts. I'm only starting to get better now after being on meds. Wasted my high school life watching porn, playing games, chasing attention, always entitled about anything. Now, I am paying the price. Anxiety, depression, all alone here on this computer without any achievement, faking confidence in online classes. Dear self, please take responsibility now. So basically I was born. The stock market crash of 2008 left me unemployed for almost 2 years. During that time, I went back to college, consistently made the president's list, served on several college committees, and still couldn't find an interview, let alone a job. With my VA benefits expiring, I took what I thought would be a safe position with the state while I continued my job search. I've been working for the Department of Corrections for over 10 years now, and all I can do is pray for retirement. It is the most thankless, mind-numbing profession I have ever worked in, and I used to pump septic tanks for a living. I make really good money, and have good benefits, but I feel like I am watching my life go by while I literally watch inmates shit into a bucket so I can search it for contraband, or take orders from someone who shouldn't even be able to work the fryer at Arby's. If I leave, I would be a 40-year-old entry-level college graduate competing with 20-year-old kids who will literally work for peanuts to get experience. I was chasing my dream with the help of my future ex-wife, in another state, far from home, and we fell on some slightly tougher than expected times. We were getting ready to sign a lease for a new apartment, and money was going to be tight for a while. I could tell she loved me and wanted to support me, but things were looking pretty bleak at that moment and I sensed she was unhappy. We sat in the car outside the rental office, and I told her point blank that I loved her and appreciated her helping me chase my dream, but I knew it was my dream, not hers, and I asked her if she wanted to stay or move back home. After a minute she broke down and said she wanted to go home. I chucked it all right then and there. Every dream I had ever had, and the only real chance I would ever have again, went out the window for love. That was in 1997, and she left me for another man in 2011. I ended up a struggling single dad, and watched the rest of my life and dreams just get trampled and left for dead. I'm stuck in a life now I never wanted, and the best part? Just a few years ago we happened to talk, we are not friendly, and she mentioned that she never wanted to come back home at all. So there it is.